we were walking through the woods, and so I have to keep her on leash because she just like will run off and never come back if I don't keep her on leash. And so I saw her kind of sniff off to the side, and I looked, and she was really like pulling hard. And this rat was just like laid on its back, and its head was completely gone, and it had some kind of gut or entrail hanging out, but nothing else messed up on the rest of its body. Bella, you getting all this? Important plot points. And its tail, like if the rat was this long, like its tail was like that long. I mean, like it's crazy long. Anyway, and so, but in that same area about a month or two ago, I'd seen an owl in a tree. And I've rarely seen owls out in the woods, and I do a lot of hunting and outside a lot. It's probably the second or third one I've ever seen, like in 40 years. And I wound up seeing the Joker twice, like in a couple weeks' time. And so it was hanging out in the trees, and I think what happened, it probably caught it and ripped its head off and then dropped it. I don't know if it dropped it on accident or just... Because I was like, my wife's like, that doesn't make any sense. I think an owl like swallows stuff whole for the whole owl pellet thing, you know?
I thought owls usually hunt at night.
They do. Well, yeah, hunt in the evening at night. Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of rodents and stuff out at night. Anyway, so, but I looked it up online, and so there were a lot of people talking about that. Like, there was one guy, like, I saw an owl killing a rabbit in my backyard one night. I heard something out there, and the next morning I went out there, and its head was gone, but the rabbit was still there. Or the rest of it was. And so I was thinking it might have been some kind of cat, but from what I read, owls do that quite often for whatever reason. Yeah.
Last summer in Mobile, I heard owl hooting at night.
You heard one hooting? I do like the owls. They're pretty to see. Anyway, so if you get a chance, that video is posted on random stuff around the farm. Oh, and we did my kids did a painting contest I built these shooting houses for my dad, and they painted them, and I did like a time lapse, and then I was having people vote on that. So
people like to, it looks like.
They like to. I think my daughter did that one. It had a bunch of trees on it. My son just did random squiggly brown and green lines. Although I think his coverage was quite a bit better. Anyway.
You were letting Sheila really get into that mouse. I'm watching it.
Yeah, she really wanted to eat that.
Look at, she's like, okay. Oh, there's the owl.
Okay, anyway.
You got it on video, the owl? Here's a picture.
No, I just got a picture from the owl from earlier, in the year. Because we were out walking, and then all of a sudden we were in the woods where it's pretty thick, and this huge bird like flies, and I like look up, and it went from one tree to the next. And I'm like, I've never seen one that close, and I got right up under it taking pictures of it. Anyway, 37. Let's go back through the landfill real quick here. Remember, there's two types of landfills: sanitary landfill, like you see here, and then you got hazardous waste. So in the sanitary landfill, remember, it's lined usually with clay, like the one they show here. A lot of them have like clay, plastic, or plastic, clay, one of the three. And all of that is in an effort to do what?
Prevent it from seeping.
Yeah, what we don't want is our harmful substances getting in the groundwater. That's right. So I don't see too many landfills that look like this, where they're just dug down like into a hole in the ground and then flattened off. Most of the time, landfills look like what? Giant mountains, yeah. Usually they kind of go with the lay of the land. They may dig back some of the clay and dirt, but a lot of times they'll fill in and then just build up and build up. If you get a chance, go by this one over here on 82, and that joker's getting huge. Like, I hadn't realized, like, you can just drive down 82 and see it now. I don't know how high they're expected to go with that thing, but it'll be interesting. It'll be like the Rocky Mountains over there by the time they're through. Anyway, 38. Oh, one thing I did forget to mention. Gosh, I forgot to mention this with the other classes. Tipping fee. How do they charge at a landfill? Good question, you might ask. They have a tipping fee. So every time you come in the dump, you bring your dump truck in, you tip it over, tip everything out, they charge you like basically a base rate there. The one over here on 82, I've carried construction waste over there before, and I think they charged me, like I had like a little 6x10 utility trailer. They charged me, I think, $20 to come in and dump it out and leave. So, and just imagine how many dump trucks are going through the city and county each day that they're dumping stuff in there. Anyway, it's a lot of money coming through there. Let's see, number 38, factors in landfills. Let's see, factors in landfill decomposition. Decomposition is what? Breakdown. So, what are the main components in landfills? Yes, trash is the main component, paper and plastic. So if you've got more paper, you would expect a lot more breakdown just because it's going to decompose over time. Components include of the trash and conditions needed for microbial waste decomposition in the waste. So a lot of it's going to depend on what's in the trash. Okay, is it something that can decompose and break down, and then is it in an environment where they can break down easily? A lot of microbes, like in the absence of oxygen, will release that methane. So that's where you see a lot of that methane extraction taking place. And you can see in this landfill, this is how most landfills look. If you drive by them, well, you can't see into the landfill, but you'll see a bunch of pipes sticking up out of them. If you ever go to Atlanta, my wife's from Atlanta, and she makes me go there when I have to see my in-laws. But anyway, I hate driving around Atlanta. But if you're going around 285 on the west side, there's a huge mound of green dirt. And I'm like, I drove by a couple times. I was like, there's houses and stuff built everywhere. I was like, why is that big green field, like just big hill out there? And then I drove by it again and I saw these pipes sticking up and I was like, oh, it's got to be an old landfill that they've capped over. And now they've got methane pipes for monitoring sticking up out of it. Anyway, all right, so that's most of the landfill knowledge. Skip over to page number 39 and page 450. Okay. So, incineration. One day, there's a lot of people in the world. We're almost to 8 billion, right? So, I don't know why up north, maybe somebody can look this up for extra credit. Maybe nobody knows, who knows? Why up north we haven't went to more incinerators for trash. If you think about all these big cities up north, there's not a lot of land left because there's so many people been living up there for so long. And people don't want to build new landfills near their house. Like, why don't they use more incinerator facilities? And maybe it's just an issue of people don't want an incinerator near their house and they don't want to deal with the air pollution. Well, a lot of Europe has went to incineration for their waste. And if you have the proper filters and stuff on it, you're not going to have a lot of air pollutants. So, how much can you reduce? Let's just go through 39. Solid waste can also be disposed of through incinerators where waste is burned at high temperatures. Method significantly reduces the volume of solid waste, but releases what? No, in burning.
CO2.
Well, it is going to release some CO2. It just says air pollutants in the notes here. You could say air pollutants and CO2 anytime you burn something is going to be released, but some air pollutants as well. Now, so you've got a little bit of air pollutants that come out. I don't think it's a great deal if you've got good filters there in place, but there's going to be some. How much can you reduce the volume of your landfill by incinerating?
20%.
Well, in the book on 450, it says incineration can reduce the volume of solid waste by 90%. It says the weight of it by 75%, but volume is really the big thing because it's how much space you're taking up with these landfills, right? So 90%. Okay, so the other 10% is like ash and stuff that's left over from the incineration process that you're still going to have to put in a landfill. But if you incinerate it, then how long does that extend your landfill life?
Right, along the 90%.
What?
90%, because if you take the space you have in the landfill and now you put the ashes in there and you have space for other stuff.
So let's say that your landfill is 100 football fields. Or let's say it's 10 football fields big, okay? And normally to fill it up, it would take, let's say 10 years. Okay, we got a small one here. We're just throwing out hypotheticals. Well, if you incinerate it, it's not gonna take you 10 years to fill it up. It's only gonna take you how long? Or in 10 years, instead of filling it up, how many football fields are you gonna fill up? One. So it's gonna last you like 10 times as long, right? By that 90% reduction in size. So you can extend landfills quite a bit by that point, okay? So something to consider, something to think about. In the future, I suspect we will move more toward incineration, where we can generate power from it. Because, obviously power's been a big issue lately when we talk about like Texas and California is just one big rolling blackout, the whole state. So, sorry, California. So, where do we get enough power? You know, there's a lot of talk about where power comes from, but if we've already got this waste, we don't have much space. Why not get some power out of it? Yes.
Do you remember the email I sent you about Singapore?
Yes, and remind me, it said something about incineration, and there was a new island or something.
Yeah, so Singapore, they don't have any space for landfills, so what they've been doing is they have these incineration plants, and they filter the air out, and I saw this video of the guy who works at the plant was like, it's clean air, but I think that was just kind of like, there's something they're pumping out, but.
I'm sure there's a little bit that gets out, yeah.
But they use, like, is it cogeneration, is that what you call it?
Cogeneration, where you're using the heat and electricity,
They
yeah.
use the heat to heat up the neighboring areas. They're pretty close to the homes and stuff because the island is so small.
Yeah.
They take all that ash and they have a separate man-made island that they're dumping it on. And they're like, it's toxic technically, but they're putting it underwater. And the wildlife on the island is fine. And the ecosystem has been like keeping up. But they are almost, it was suspected that they would fill the island around with ash to the point where they can't put any more ash in there by 2050. But that number has now declined because the population of Singapore is increasing dramatically as they move to more developed country. And so they're continuing, the problem is they're having to build more incineration plants. They're having to increase the amount of ash. That island is going to be full by 2030, which is like in 9 years. So they're going to have to find an alternate. So,
But they still have way too much trash to put it anywhere else, right?
yeah.
So, I mean, that's the only option.
It's their only option, but it's concerning.
It's still not a good option.
They also recycle a lot, which that's good, but like.
I think we're eventually going to have to get to the point where we do a better job of recycling. We also go away from plastics and go more toward paper. I mean, for the most part, paper is renewable. I mean, we can grow a lot of paper, a lot of trees, as long as we don't destroy like the land in the rate we're doing it. And if you use more paper packaging, then you can burn it. One, you're not increasing the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere by burning it because it's already been taken in, so you're just putting it back out. And then I think you probably get more of a complete burn, and it's not as bad for the environment as if you're burning like a lot of plastics in there. When you burn those plastics, that's where you're getting a lot of like noxious fumes going off. Quentin, I'm gonna take that phone up. So I can assure you that as you guys get older and go into your old age, that these are problems that are going to arise all over the place where landfills start getting full. What do we do with this? Andrew, wake up. Got serious world issues here to think about. So, good questions. What do we do with all that stuff? I would think, what's the 3 R's? Reduce, use, recycle. What did you say? Reduce, reuse, recycle?
Yeah.
I would think the biggest one, the most important one there is reduce. Like there's huge amounts of packaging that seems just really unnecessary when stuff's sent out. I'm going to post a video. My wife got something from Sephora. Is that how you say it?
Yes.
Did I tell you about this?
No.
She, no joke, I'm using this just for size. She got like a little bottle of lotion or something you put on your face. Who knows what it is? Ladies, you may know. That was like this big, and I guarantee you, the box that it came in was like this big. For all you people on the internet. So I've got a video of this I'll post later. This much makeup in a box this big. Like, what are they thinking?
Are you sure she didn't get anything else?
No, that was it. She even brought it to my attention because normally she doesn't tell me what she buys because I'm a tightwad and complain. And she's like, look at this like packaging that they brought this stuff in.
A lot of bubble wrap and packing peanuts in there. Was it just?
No. It was all just like the brown paper that they kind of wad up.
Was it like really expensive?
I'm sure it was.
Probably would.
But it wasn't like a plastic little jar or metal jar. I guess a plastic jar. I mean, it wasn't something that would easily break.
Are you sure it wasn't glass?
What?
Was it a glass jar that it was in?
I don't know. They didn't need that much packaging.
Yeah, I agree.
For sure. Anyway, I don't know. I was very irritated at the amount of packaging that goes on. And like fast food is horrible. If you go to a fast food restaurant, and I know this because I pick up people's trash on the side of my road all the time, like there is so much packaging that goes into just a small meal. There's got to be a better way of doing that. Got to be a better way. So maybe some of you guys will work on that.
There
Yeah.
are people that are trying to develop this like plastic
Yeah, it's made of cellulose,
Yeah.
like
for
a cellulose type plastic,
burger.
so that it breaks down. Oh, you're talking about the actual burger?
No, I'm talking about like I've seen my grandfather's kind of crazy, but like he did talk about how his buddy has a contract with McDonald's. I don't think it's real, but they were like the cell used to use to wrap burgers.
Yeah. It's made out of biodegradable. Well, at least if that's the case, like if somebody throws it out, then it'll break down. So yes, biodegradable plastics have been in the works for a few years, and hopefully that will replace more of our normal plastics, because basically what happens is they're exposed to UV light, they break down much quicker, and then microbes and stuff can break them down. So hopefully that's a solution to some of these issues, since obviously people cleaning up after themselves is not a solution. Sorry. Jeremiah, do you have a question? Okay. Some items, where do we get to with that one? Yeah, reduces. Okay, so the incineration helps out. Oh, and look at the incinerator on page 451. What do you notice it has on it to help prevent air pollution?
Baghouse filter.
Yeah, so it's got some of these baghouse filters that we talked about. You know, some facilities might use scrubbers or electrostatic precipitators or some combination thereof. But those are ways to greatly reduce the air pollutants. You know, I would suggest that those probably be put on the outskirts of town somewhere where they're blowing away from town, so you can limit people's exposure to air pollution. And that's probably just, like Thomas Sewell says, there's no solutions, there's trade-offs. So that's probably the best trade-off we can hope for there, in terms of what to do with that trash, other than just not producing anything and having anything. All right, next one. Let's see, number 40. Some items are not accepted in sanitary landfills and may be disposed of illegally, leading to environmental problems. One example is tires. Now, I was thinking of, you know, if you've got a paint can that's half full, or an old gas can that's rusty and there's some gas in it but you can't use it, or there's some cleaner, like some Drano in a bottle that you're cleaning out that's 46 years old. So, like, those are chemicals that you're not supposed to throw away in your normal trash can, because they get squished, chemicals leak out, they leach down through the landfill, and they can get in the water supply if it's not properly filtered and detected. So, now they do have pickup days at the recycling center, or drop-off days, where you can drop off some of that hazardous stuff, but it's pretty few and far between. So, what do most people do with those things?
Burn it.
Store it around in their garage.
They may just, I hope they don't burn it. Maybe they store it, but a lot of times they'll just throw it out, or they bag it up in a big bag where you can't tell what it is, and they throw it in the garbage anyway. Jordan's nodding her head over there. She knows what I'm talking about. So I'll give you an example. At my house, I've had a bucket of, I'm like Sophie, we bought this house over here, and the people had like 4 or 5 gas cans and diesel cans. And so they were all old, and nobody would use it because it wouldn't be fit to put in a vehicle. So I poured it all in one big container, and I was going to carry it up there. But I haven't heard them say when one of their recycle days is, or get rid of your toxic material day. So I've got a container full of gas and diesel fuel I've got to get rid of.
We have so much like paint and stuff that's just sitting in our garage.
Yeah, I think they've got a day where you can get rid of that, where it won't, where you don't have to throw it away. I'll have to, maybe somebody
My dad's cheap, and he'll try and see if we can find some way to use it.
find somewhere to paint it. Yeah. May give it to me. I'll let my kids paint pester my shooting houses with that. All right, tires. What's the problem with tires throwing them in a landfill?
Rubber doesn't
They
break down.
don't break down.
Well, they don't break down easily, and what's the other problem?
Mosquitoes.
Okay, well, that mosquito one I think is more of an issue in landfills where they're still exposed. And that's true. Like if you've got tires laying out, mosquitoes get in them. They're a breeding ground for that. So in poorer places, that would be a problem. If you're covering them over with clay, the mosquitoes isn't an issue. What is?
The worms.
Worms in the tires? What's the shape of a tire?
It's like round.
Can you fill in the tire?
Yeah.
Not really easily with a bulldozer just running over it, right? So you've got this big the tire that's taking up a lot of volume, even though it's not really that big. So what a lot of landfills will require for dumping of tires is you have to shred them like into 3 or 4 pieces, so that way they can kind of be, as they run over, they're flattened out, and you can pack them down so that they're not taking up so much space in the landfill. All right. 41. Some countries dispose of waste by dumping in the ocean. We saw that with Indonesia from the video the other day. What happens if you don't offer landfill services to people? It's going to get dumped somewhere. Maybe not where you want it. Practice has led with other sources of plastic to large floating islands of trash, wildlife becoming entangled in the waste, as well as ingesting it. So today we're going to watch a couple videos on e-waste that I've got that are really good. So y'all turn back to number 36 for that. Tomorrow, I've got to look because I want to pull a few up that aren't too long. But I will find videos of, I've got a good one of birds ingesting the plastic and dying, like where you can see all the plastic in their bellies from where they starve to death. And then I found a good one with like stuff that's got nets and stuff entangled around their necks and bodies. So we'll look at some of the environmental hazards that result from waste making its way out to the ocean. Okay? All right, you guys take care.